welcome back. I'm really glad you're here today. I want to start with a quote that's been sitting with me for a while now. I mean, sitting with me in a way things do when they're either exactly right or they're asking something uncomfortable of you. Maxine Legacy said, difficult and meaningful will always bring more satisfaction than easy and meaningless. Now let's say it again slowly. Difficult and meaningful will always bring more satisfaction than easy and meaningless. Now, because I think most of us would nod at that stage, sure, of course, hard things are worth it. Growth is uncomfortable. We've all heard the same version of that speech. But today, I want to go somewhere different with it. I want to talk about why so many of us intellectually agree with that idea and still spend years, sometimes decades, choosing the easier, emptier path anyway. And more importantly, I want to talk about what's actually going on underneath that. We're going to look at this through a real story first, because concepts without context are just wallpaper. Pretty to look at, not particularly useful. So in the summer of 2021 at the Tokyo Olympics, Simone Biles walked away from her event mid-competition, the most decorated gymnast in history, the woman who has her moves named after her in the sport's official code of points. Moves considered so dangerous that other gymnasts don't even attempt them. She withdrew from the team final and 4 individual events at the biggest stage in the world, and the internet lost its mind. People called her a quitter, said she'd let her country down, said she was weak, that she wasn't built for pressure. But what was actually happening was something called the twisties. It's a phenomenon where mid-air, a gymnast's mind and body disconnect. Going up, knowing how to do a triple twisting double backflip, and somewhere in the air, your body forgets. She described like walking up and no longer knowing how to drive a car, except the consequences isn't a fender bender. It's a 9-foot fall onto a mat, or worse, onto your neck. She didn't quit because it was hard. She stopped because continuing would have been genuinely dangerous. But here's where the story gets interesting. She came back 3 years later, 2024 Paris Olympics, and she didn't just return. She won 4 medals, including 3 golds. She became the first woman in history to win 2 Olympic all-round titles in non-consecutive games at 27 years old in a sport that typically crowns its champions at 16. And what she said about the return is what I keep coming back to. Before the comeback, everything was about the gym. Train, compete, perform, repeat. But the version of her that went to Paris made a deliberate choice to do it differently. Weekly therapy every Thursday, even during major competitions. Real conversations with coaches about what she needed. When she was tired, when she was scared, she protected her relationships, her marriage, her family, not as an afterthought, as a foundation. And then she asked herself a question that I think is everything. In 10 years, do I want to watch Paris on TV and wondering what would have happened if I'd just put in the effort? That question changes everything. Not, what will people think if I quit? Not, am I proving something to my critics? Not even, can I win? She asked herself, will I regret choosing easy over meaningful? The answer was no. So she went back and she did the hardest thing she'd ever done. And it was, in her own words, exactly what she wanted. Now, here's where I want to bring in a framework that helps explain what Simone actually did. In social work, we talk a lot about self-determination, the idea that every person has the right to direct their own life, to make choices based on their own values, their own goals, their own definition of a good life, not somebody else's, not what's popular, not what's comfortable for the people around them. Self-determination sounds simple. It's actually one of the most radical things you can practice. Because here's the truth. Most of us have spent so much of our lives making decisions based on what other people need from us, what they expect from us, what we think we should want, that we've lost touch with what we actually want. And when you don't know what you want, easy and meaningless starts to feel like relief. Not failure, relief. But it's not relief. It's drift. When Simone asked herself about regret, she was doing something most people skip entirely. She was checking in with her own internal compass, not with the public narrative, not with her critiques, not even with the people who loved her, with yourself. Now, what does meaningful look for you? Are you moving towards it or away from it? That's not a question that comes naturally when you've spent years performing for other people's expectations. Or you can reframe it this way. What does meaningful look for me? Am I moving towards it or away from it? That's not a question that you may feel comfortable with. That's not really a question that we're really comfortable asking ourselves, but it's a practice, a skill. And the reason so many people end up in lives that they feel hollow, not terrible, not dramatic, just empty, is because they never built that skill. They optimized for smooth and they took the path of least resistance so many times that stopped feeling the resistance at all. And when you can't feel resistance, you can't feel direction. You're just floating. Simone felt resistance. She felt it in Tokyo. She felt it during those 3 years afterward. She felt fear every single day she walked back into that gym, and she went anyway, because meaningful was on the other side. But I want to push on something because there's a deeper layer here that most people don't talk about. That's a version of there's a version of the choose difficult and meaningful message that becomes its own trap. It sounds like if it's not hard, it doesn't count, or if you're not grinding, you're not serious. If it comes easily, you didn't earn it. That is not what this quote is saying, and it's not what I'm saying. The important word isn't hard. The important word is meaningful. Those are not the same thing. There are things that are brutally difficult and completely meaningless. Toxic relationships, jobs that drain you, commitments that you've made to a version of yourself that no longer exists. Staying in those things is not noble. It's not growth. It's not the kind of difficulty this quote is pointing towards. And on the flip side, there are things that come with relative ease and are deep. A conversation that changes someone's life, work that flows out of your natural, moments of genuine connection. Meaningless is the enemy. And this is where people get stuck. They stay in meaningless difficulty because they mistake suffering for significance. And then they walk away from meaningful peace because they don't trust anything that doesn't cost them. That's the deeper layer. The question isn't, is this hard? The question is, does this matter to me? And the second question is much scarier because once you answer it honestly, you have to do something about it. Simone didn't go back to gymnastics because it was the hardest option. No, she went back because when she sat with the honest question, the answer was yes. This still matters to me. That's very different from grinding through something that stopped happening years ago in character. So the real work is learning to ask that second question, not just, can I do this? But do I actually want this? Be honest about the answer. Even when it disrupts the plan that you've already told everyone about. Here's what I want you to do today. Not this week, today. Get a piece of paper or open a notes app on your phone. Draw a line down the middle. Top left corner, column right, hard and meaningful. At the top of the right column, write hard and meaningless. Now think about the things in your life that are asking something different of you. The things costing you energy, attention, emotional output. List them. Put each one in a column. Don't overthink it. Your gut knows the difference faster than your brain will. Look at the right column, the hard and the meaningless side. Pick one thing and ask yourself this question. What would it take for me to stop doing this? Not, am I allowed to? Not, what would people think? And not, can I afford to? What it would actually take. You don't have to act on it today. I'm not asking you to blow up your life in the next 20 minutes, but I am asking you to get honest with what's feeding your energy without feeding your soul. Because that clarity is the starting point. Now, you can't move towards meaningful. It's everything you have talking up. Do the list, ask the question, sit with what comes up. That's the work for you today. Now, thank you for spending this time with me. I'll leave you with this. Simone Biles standing on that podium, there is something happy because she chose her and then did the work required to walk. That's available to all of us. Not the gold medal. Be aligned. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you next time.